Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Hello, this is Josh McCowan from Renault Winery Resort, and we have a very important announcement from Matt Sorensen about Learn and Grow, August 24th. Take it away, Matt.
I'm Matt Sorensen from Directed IRA. I'm excited to be the keynote speaker at the Learn and Grow event for Accountable Equity on August 23rd and 24th. Got to book your tickets and get registered. I'm excited to be there and to meet you in person.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I can do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our life, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the big show. Josh McCowan. It is Capital Hacking with John Edwin. It is great to see you, buddy.
You know, Josh, when we start our intro, I don't ever know what you're going to do. Sometimes Josh karate chops the microphone when he says welcome back. He comes in with scissors, both arms. Yeah. But I just love how you come in blazing. So today scissors. We interviewed Keith Hohing, amazing guy, amazing friend of ours, investor. He's an investor and a supporter of Accountable Equity and all the amazing stuff that we're doing at our resorts. But even deeper than that, this guy has been in software technology for 32 years.
Yeah, without a doubt, a lot of great reminiscing. You know, so if you're a business owner and you've been through these journeys and you've kept a business growing for 32 years like Keith has, I think you'll really connect with this great guy. But you're also going to get a little insight into some of the funny things that have happened over the last 30 years in technology. I think that'll be fun. And then, spoiler alert, he's going to give out his personal cell phone number at the end because he really wants to be a resource to you if you're listening today. So you're going to love this show. You're going to see why this kind of guy is who we want to be with. And we want to get to know better and hopefully do a tech revolution again because this guy's on the cusp of some great stuff.
Yes. Thank you, Keith. Let's go.
John, we did it. We got another wonderful partner to get on the show. His name's Keith, of course, Keith Hohing. Great to have him here, right, John?
Oh, yeah. Keith is a good friend of ours, and we're just excited to have you. Keith, can you give us a little background of who you are?
Sure, guys. Thanks for having me first. I really appreciate that. My name's Keith Hohing. I'm the owner-operator, CEO of Comtekh Inc, an IT consulting company. We're based out of South Jersey, right here in lovely downtown Berlin, New Jersey. Whitehurst Pike. Been in doing this, like I said, most of my life. I got involved with, believe it or not, one of my first clients was General Electric. And I started doing work for a company I worked for who deployed a lot of hardware for them all over the country. And I traveled the country and got to know their network and their infrastructure and their people and their businesses. So eventually what happened is I ended up in a situation where that contract was dissolving. And they said, hey, you can either come on as a hire or you can start your own company. That's where it began for me. So I went ahead and became an independent consultant, and
nice.
As time went by, I did the same old story, working out of the garage. One of the first guys to ever have a high-speed network connection in his backyard, and people were like, wow, you got one of those? That's crazy. And nobody has. And eventually built up, helped them run their network operations center out of Princeton, New Jersey for GE for many years. Got to know all their different businesses and architecture and infrastructure. And then what happened is I2K came along, and next thing I know, GE's working on systems that were not going to be supportable after the first of the year. So after the change of the millennium. So we actually started developing some database information. We scraped all their records and made a centralized repository for them, and then built it on a platform that you can integrate with. Hence the beginning of sort of the software revolution that was going on at that time. You know, this is when Facebook was first coming out and everything else. This was like the big bang, IT. My good friend Terry, he's experienced the same thing, Terry Rossi, and we went through the time developing software applications, a little here, a little there. We were very boutique, so we could develop very lean, very quick. We could bring things to market quick for GE, and they loved it, and they would just keep coming back for more and more. And we built our whole industry around serving their needs, almost to the point of too much to GE's needs, because then we were solely dependent on them from a small company perspective. So we learned many years later, as GE began to downsized, and so did our agreements with them. We had a multitude of agreements. We supported a help desk. If you ordered a cell phone in General Electric anywhere in the world, it came to our office here in Berlin, New Jersey. Things like that. So we did a lot of. We were in what's called the telecom expense management side of the house. So we looked at all their IT spend, asset manage, asset inventory, liquidations. Compliancy, data privacy compliancies. A lot of moving parts. But they're a great company to be. They're very bleeding edge, and we learned a lot, and we capitalized a lot from doing that with them. So that worked out really well. So that evolved for us as we were growing that industry. A few years after we got into the software side of the house, along came 9/11, and some friends of mine that had worked for GE went on to work at Merrill Lynch. I got a call shortly after 9/11 saying, "Hey, can you guys come up and help us out? It's a mess up here, and we don't know what to do." And they needed a DR plan, so I went up and worked with my friend at the time, a gentleman by the name of Michael Brady, who's phenomenal. He's had many CTO and CIO positions from Wells. He's currently at Wells Fargo, at Kaiser Permanente, Citibank, and Fidelity. He's a phenomenal guy. Me and Mike worked together throughout the years, but at that time, we were working on getting Lower Manhattan back on the air because everything had gone directly into the World Trade Center. So we had to come up with a DR plan and a way to bring traders back in the Lower Manhattan. So I learned a lot in that period of time. Very challenging, very demanding. We went into that thinking I'm going to go ahead and help a friend out and do what I thought was probably a patriotic thing to do. And next thing I know, we're getting an opportunity to offer to put a proposal together to develop software applications for what became Bank of America, and won the proposal. Wow. And we're still doing work for them today. As a matter of fact, we're in the process of getting a new agreement to extend that.
Can I ask you a few, because I want to continue the story, but I want to ask a couple fun questions. The listeners are, they're getting to know you, why we find you to be. You're extremely warm. You're a go-getter. You're a doer. And you're grinding for 32 years owning a business. So without a doubt, my hat is off to you. Big respect. Not many people can make it past 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. Nobody gets to 32. So you must have some real fight in your heart to get through the tough times. The funniest thing you've said today, though, it reminds us all about where we were in Y2K. Remember that? Mm-hmm. I want to ask about Y2K from a guy in the world. Then I want to ask you about what it was like going through the pre.com world and the post.com world, because I think every listener who's not been on your side of the table, where you know how the software works, you know how to build engineer it, you saw the change in engineering. So we're going to ask you a couple broad questions, but Y2K, brother, this was hilarious. This was the idea for those novices out there that computers a lot of them were built 80s and 90s. Programs had digits. And instead of doing the year 1990, they did 90, right?
Yeah.
And so they only had 2 digits per 4-year calendar year. And so the theory was, at the turn of the millennia, the computers are going to think it's the year 0 or whatever. And they're not going to know how to incrementally update their software, I guess. And I want you to explain it a little better than that, but I got to tell you a joke before you do. So I'm sitting there in a master's class for accounting for my MBA. So it's a course, maybe not the best teacher, right? Like a normal dude who's just doing some side gigs. And he says the funniest joke. I fell out of my chair because we're all MBA students. And he's like a local yokel kind of guy. And he goes, yeah, this Y2K thing's coming up in a few years. And he goes, I just got to ask you, these are the computer guys, right? The smartest guys on the planet. They could, he's like, the whole world's going to shut down because they couldn't think of 2 digits to 4 digits. What were they thinking? The world, it's like it was the 90s. It wasn't like we built these computers in the year 0. And he goes, I guess the whole world's going to shut down, because this was the first time I ever heard of Y2K. It was years before Y2K. So we're all like raising our hands like, what's Y2K? This is way before it. And he goes, well, Y2K, the year 2000? I mean, the whole world's going to shut their computers down except for China. This is what he says. Because over there, I think it's going to be the year of the dog. I fell out of my chair because the way he delivered it, I couldn't tell if he was serious. He's like, I guess except for in China where it's the year of the dog. Anyway,
well,
God
people
bless
were talking about planes falling out of the sky, and Christine was actually traveling during the New Year. We were heading to JFK to pick her up. She was in India, and we're like, I don't know if this plane's going to land today. Like,
what was it like from your seat, Keith? When did you start hearing the rumblings that it was going to be a problem? What year?
About 2 years before it happened. And we were basically in the hardware business at the time. We really weren't doing a lot with software per se. We had some software applications, but the big concern with everybody were even the equipment, the hardware equipment, the way it programmed, the way it had its firmware built into the systems and all, would it hit that date? So we had to do a lot of remediation testing. We had to prove that it wouldn't fail. This is the bottom line. To say, okay, we'll test all our products. Well, let's program, let's put the date in, let's force the date, let's make it turn, like it's 1999 at midnight. We were all had to be, by the way, all sitting at our computers, on the ready for everything to come just falling down. Obviously nothing did, but a lot of companies spent tons and tons of money just verifying. It's what is the equivalent of cybersecurity, I guess you could say now.
Right.
And everybody felt like, oh my God, everybody needs security, and everybody goes into panic mode. But there was that one application that GE used. It was called, they used that AT&T program, house all their asset inventory. And it was housed in a system called 3B2, which was a blue frame, IBM mainframe system, called mainframe blue system. And that they couldn't prove 100% that they weren't going to be reliable after Y2K. So in advance of Y2K, we just started screen scraping all their inventory records and creating basically a picture of every single asset inventory item, the asset design. And eventually said, well, we should do something with this, and very generically put together text versions of the stuff, and then eventually put it into an Access database, and then began to learn about things like SQL and applications.
So for you, it really kind of opened up your eyes to different ways
it did.
To do things. And it sounds like you said, it got, first of all, my favorite part of it is that, no, not until 9/11 do you start doing more than just GE contracts, right? So the year 2000, right after the computer changed, were there any major problems that we're just not aware of today?
Not significant problems, just there was a lot of, the way technology was then, I wanted to put this in our dialogue, that technology today is like, it comes at you so fast. It's like, I was trying to use an analogy, like a surfer. There was a time if you were a surfer, you just have to catch an occasional wave. You wait for the next wave. You're waiting for the wave. Oh, why ride that wave in? Imagine every time you turn, there's another wave. And that's technology now. There's so much coming at you so fast. We used to have to wait on bated breath. I'd wait for new PCs to come out and learn how to use them. And when they put Sound Blaster and put sound inside of laptops and, things of that nature, and some of the early games and stuff. Well, we're always learning. I spent countless nights all night long just sitting up trying to load software in a computer to get them to run right, because they're such cutting edge, such bleeding edge. And that was the same with a lot of the database architectures. They evolved, obviously, exponentially in the years ahead, but they started out very fundamental. So, yeah, it was just basic fundamental building blocks, and it just was like, just kept layering onto it,
And during that time, overlapping then was the .com bubble.
Yes.
Where were you during that? Like, what was your business? Was it affected by the .com? Were you getting bigger opportunities? Were you trying to play in that world?
I have to lean too much on the GE world of things. I'll tell you more about other clients I had and things we've done. But GE is what was called the 3-dot network. Ahead of them was the government and education system. So government was .1 dot and education was 2 dot whatever. The root of the domain.
Okay.
So GE was the 3-dot, and they were one of the largest IT infrastructures, privately owned private infrastructure before we got into this more diverse world that we now live in, with all different subdomains and DNS allocations. But GE was huge on it and owned a huge piece of that, and it was very valuable to them. So they were right there at the cutting edge. Our guys that I work with every day were there when Netscape came out, Navigator.
Oh, yeah.
We were working on that, and we were going up to Boston University and showing the students how you could do virtual fly-throughs of hearts, and things like that. And, My
Wow.
job was to make sure that the demo worked because it was, it was over the internet and nobody was doing that at the time. So, I'd get these assignments to go do things that they thought were, nobody wants to go near that. I was like, I'll do it. I don't care. So I got firsthand experience doing that. So we were right there at the leading and bleeding edge of the .nets, and then to see how the browser world changed and the web environment, and a lot of the applications we developed are all web based. So it was just a natural progression in terms of growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Keith, I'm always curious when someone gets a big company. How did you land GE? What was the process there?
Like I said, I was doing work for them prior to for another company that had pretty much exhausted their agreement. We're looking at the end of life of that agreement, and GE had all this hardware deployed and said, we need somebody to support it. And you're like the only guy that really knows all this stuff. So you can either come on as an employee or you can start as an independent. So I did independent. And that gave me a lot of opportunity to grow my resources too. Like I would hire a lot of their router techs. They were hiring third-party people. I was training their network operations people. A lot of my fast work for me, actually.
This is the V of your story, right? Because here you are up until that point, you're doing a great job for people. You get singled out as somebody who knows their stuff, and they gave you the choice to work for the big GE, or start as an independent. Now, was your family? Did you have mentors? I imagine most people would have chosen just join GE. What was in you to not do that? Why did you not do it that way?
I guess maybe I didn't like the structure of large enterprises. You kind of got lost in the machine, I couldn't really get an opportunity to stand out. I couldn't shine as quickly as I wanted to, do the things I wanted. I had a lot of faith in my ability to deliver. Like I said, when I did the 9/11 stuff, my buddy that was up there said, look, we got to come up with a solution. I need you to do this. We came up with the solution. And then I said, well, I hypothetically, I know how to do it, but he goes, just do it. And he yelled at me literally and said, you're going to do this. You're just going to do it. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm doing it. And we had to get resources and deploy equipment over Lower Manhattan and Long Island. And it was quite an interesting time as well. But a lot of those were just being in the moment, stepping up to the challenge when it came along. That's all.
So you just felt it. Had you known when you started and you're graduating high school, you're choosing a career, did you know you would be a business owner at that time? Did you think you would?
I did not know that at all. And I thought to myself, I'll be in business for 5 years. Remember mentioning the time frames, 1 year. So I said 5 years. I can do it for 5 years. Then I'll go work for somebody. Let me just give it a shot, And it just kept growing and going and going. Like a lot of the stories you guys hear about people, how you have a lot of things are just, when opportunity knocks, you got to, answer the door, and you got to go after those things in front of you and be willing to take the chances.
We talked, John, this reminds me, we talked to Terry Rossi, a great mutual friend of all of ours, and Keith, your friend for a long time. He talked about how at some point he knew, it sounds like early on, that he needed advice and mentorship and camaraderie from other business owners. And, I give him a lot of credit because I didn't envision that part of life until it started happening to me as well. But he seemed to have sought it out. Is that your journey, or did the right people just show up in your company and help you grow?
Right. Well, not necessarily in my company, but the people that I was working with within GE were some of the most brilliant minds I've ever worked with, and we really worked extremely well together. I did have some mentors early on when I started in that environment, but just the folks on the GE side that I worked with were phenomenal individuals, and everybody was always challenging. Like I said, very bleeding edge. GE was always one of the first people to do video conferencing. I remember we did video conferencing for the Olympics, and we did the Republican National Convention in Philadelphia, and I had to be on site for that. And those were first time things that were happening that nobody had done before. That all was. Obviously, everybody. I was a lot of trial and error. I'm very hands on, so I was very trial and error. Try this, do that, and you make mistakes. But once you sort of get into your lane, things start happening. And then I got to surround myself with some really good, because I taught myself the software application we develop in, which is Cold Fusion, and then I had to teach it to my developers who were coming in. They went to school for software application development and computer science, but that technology was new to them. So I said, this is what I know about it. And then you got to take it from here to there, So, and that's what they did. So I had a team of developers, and we just kept churning out new applications, and really grew the business exponentially. So,
it's funny, John. We talked to different professionals, and Keith, you got to give yourself credit because you're saying like, that's what we did. We learned cold fusion and then we built apps. And to me, this is so Greek. Like, I can't even imagine day one of trying to figure that out. So kudos to you. We all have,
thank you.
You have a great gift here. It sounds to me like probably your rapport building and your teamwork building skills are very high, and that the teams have they been with you for a while? Like, are your teammates, have they had a long lifespan with your company?
That's my teammates are mostly my family, strangely enough.
Oh, okay.
My nephews, I'm one of 8, come from a large family, as you have a very large family, Josh. And, I had a lot of nephews that were coming of age. And I was able to take them under my wing. And one of my nephews has been with me almost since I started my company. He came right out of high school. And
Wow.
His mother was very upset. His brother went off for pre-med at Boston University and eventually came back to work for me anyway. So, I got a lot of nephews that came under my wing. They had some friends, and we created it was like, like a band of brothers kind of environment. Everybody took care of everybody.
That's very special.
Yeah, it was very, very special. I can't take credit for nearly a fraction of what went on as a result of it. Without that team, I would be nothing, as in most great teams.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, it's Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. Enjoy.
It was interesting as you were going through the .coms and the Netscape and all those things, and then I got to thinking about Ask Jeeves. Do you guys remember Ask Jeeves? Did you help in that starting Ask Jeeves, Keith?
Not too much. No, I'm really too involved in that.
So that I was just having fun there because Ask Jeeves was like the coolest thing back in the day. It was groundbreaking. You could ask this guy. It was like I think it was a dog in a tuxedo or something.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, if you guys remember, Josh, I don't
remember this
you
one.
don't remember Ask Jeeves? All right, well, we're going to go back in time. I'm going to send you some of that stuff. Yeah. But as far as the family dynamic, I'm always interested.
Me too.
How you work successfully with siblings or nephews or cousins. How does that dynamic work?
Well, first things first, we made everybody feel a very big part of what we did. I learned from my first job, one of my few jobs I had prior to starting my own company. I worked for some great people that had a great work ethic, but they also had a great ethic about sharing in the wealth of the company, sharing in the ability to have special events. We always did big Christmas parties or big events. Obviously, they're already family anyway, but we'd include everybody, do some really special things like Christmas party on the Battleship, New Jersey, or over at the Waterworks in Philly. We just always try to do something different. And they always loved that. And we had very flexible work environment. They loved the work environment we had. So it wasn't not that hard. And there were times when you had to be, a boss and not an uncle, and say, during 8 to 5, I'm your boss. On the weekends, we can hang out and have a beer and, tell jokes and have a great time. But they understood the difference in the dynamic. And
that's good.
We got very lucky that way.
You kind of did, because they must have been hungry in themselves, right? Maybe. And then with your culture. Now, let's go to where we are today in the world of technology. You said in the past it was like riding a wave peacefully and getting another one. Now it's like they're crashing on you in your face. Mm-hmm. So today, how have you pivoted? Like, what does it look like to work for Comtekh today? What are the clients? What kind of work is helping you grow the business?
Well, that's a great question. The pivot for me came when, and it's no secret, that's why I mentioned GE, when GE started to downsize and they've totally broken that company into 3 major parts now. There used to be so many different divisions, nuclear and medical and GE Capital, which Capital left years ago. And we ran all those divisions for them. We helped them build their data centers. We knew everything about it. They eventually decommissioned all their data centers, went to the cloud. So it changed our environment. They insourced. They took a lot of work that we did and tried to bring it in-house. And as a result of doing that, it kind of left us in the lurch a little bit. Like, I grew my company. I had 25 employees at one time. I'm now at 8 employees, but I don't have any problem with that. A lot of my family had to go on to other opportunities, including my son, who came to work for Comtekh when he was just getting out of high school, and he got into IT, and he now works for Inspira Health Systems, doing great over there. So that's a good success story. I was able to guide him, and but I still have several family members that work for me, and that pivot was about, okay, we've had to reinvent ourselves almost from the ground up. And so we did a lot of that with taking friendlies, nearby friendlies, again, relationship building, people that either had known through the industry, working for some other, clients and relationships, and expanded out that way. Sort of went left to right, so to look how we could spread that out. And we came up with some really great relationships. We do work with Stryker Medical, Suez Water, which is an older division of GE, different components of that we've kept ourselves going pretty steadily, pretty strong. And then, luckily we weren't really, I think Terry said this too, IT really wasn't heavily affected by COVID in the way people were thinking it would be. Matter of fact, a lot of people ended up just going, my employees ended up going remote and staying there. They never came back. Most of them don't even come to the office anymore, but that's not a problem because they still get as much done. So that the pivot there for me was that. So the real next level pivot is now in the last couple of years. You look at AI and things that are going on in the industry that are really changing, and different boutique mini apps. This small purpose apps. You're talking about that a little bit to Terry in your dialogue. So in our world, we would build these, enterprise level assets that were designed to work with, very large enterprises and not work on very singular type based infrastructure. So that's and that for me, that's the biggest problem pivot wise is marketing and, sales and marketing, because now I got to go out and, earn that business in a way that I didn't have to earn it before. I used to just say, hey, I could do that. And they'd hire me and I'd do it. And that would be the end of it. Now I got to say, I can do that. They go, you sure? I don't know. The other guy over there says he can do it too. And everybody can do everything nowadays. We live in the Donald Trump era. We are all experts. We're all great people. But I'm saying that it's just the world we live in. Perception is now reality. You know what I mean?
Right.
Versus reality being the reality.
Well, and you're taking the future. Big announcement today. I mean, obviously you've been growing the company for years, but now you have products that you've developed, and you and I are excited about Cater 2 with a K, Cater 2.
That's correct.
You've pivoted into the universe we're in, where you do catering, full stack communication, contracting. Why don't I let you explain what is Cater 2 and why are you going down that path? What's the future?
Cater 2, again, was one of those things that fell towards sort of in my lap. I had friends in the industry that were looking for a solution that they couldn't find in the marketplace in the event management software space. Now, there's some big players out there in the space, and some are more oriented towards hotels or golf courses or this or that. But there was something specific that was missing, and that was a component we developed initially for the app, which was called S2K. It was a short acronym for Server to Kitchen, which is a version of a point of sale system that aggregates all the order activity table side. I call it the beef, chicken, fish thing. People off the table, you're having the beef or you're having the chicken or the fish, and then if there was something like specials or allergies, and then people would either write that down somewhere, but there really wasn't a piece of software that allowed you to type that into a phone or an app or, or on your phone or to iPad or something, and the kitchen see it instantaneously. So the chefs that I've worked with love the application. They absolutely eat, no pun intended, they eat it up. I should use that as a phrase.
I think fully pun intended, is the better.
But they do love it. And it really helps them manage waste and, quality of their food gets out. It's hotter, it's more on time, there's less errors, there's less frustration. So we really find, and this is where I lack my skills because I've talked to you about this application before a couple of times, but I always impressing upon you that, it's a full suite service because we knew we couldn't just deliver that piece. So we thought it's event management. So we got to do invoicing and contracts and, deposit schedules and all that good stuff. So we built all those modules. So it's a full suite event management software application, but it's real get up and go is the server to kitchen technology, which I think we still to this day one of the few people to do that.
Yeah, I have a question, John. Is it all right if I ask another question?
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Right, baby. You're doing great.
In the world of engineering software, I probably like many entrepreneurs out there, I think of it as everything's modular these days, and it's just, a license per month and relatively affordable. And the long tail cost ends up adding up, but at first it doesn't hurt to add it. I remember all softwares, even when I was leading, my first career out of college after teaching was leading recruiting for universities. And we were talking about buying these massive education platforms, and it was like hundreds of thousands of dollars to implement, and everything was so cumbersome. Today, it feels easy to get into an app, and then you're trapped, kind of, right? And then you're trying to figure out, well, this app does 7 things, but I needed 12 things. So you end up just putting 2 apps next to each other. What's it like for you with this software? Is it literally like, again, back to Cold Fusion?
Yeah.
Is it infinite, the amount of things you could add to this yourself? You, not us. Like, how big could this get?
Oh, it could be huge. That's the beauty of the way we've always developed, because we're boutique, and I like working with software that we develop, that we physically touch and get involved with. There's a lot of folks that develop software but don't even know how to. They've never. You ask them, how to use it? I don't know. Maybe they could go talk to a salesperson or tech rep. I can tell you every feature that's in my tool, any piece of software we've ever developed or worked on, because I've grown up with it through the time, and I'm ingrained with my clients. I was on the phone with some of my clients yesterday talking about 3 or 4 or 5 new features they want to have us add. So my guys are working on that right now, and so that works pretty well for us. And it's a specialized market, it's a specialized space, but in a long run, I think being more boutique is favorable to us because it allows us to be this guy that you just really have this intimate relationship with.
It's very attractive. It's an attractive opportunity. And, let me throw out a big behemoth out there, somewhat in the world of hospitality like you are with this software. I mean, like Airbnb changed the game of short-term rentals, it seems to me. And their software is sleek. It's easy to use. Have you learned anything from tools like that? Is that, what tools inspired you in the way you created Cater 2?
Believe it or not, I think like Chick-fil-A was one. I can remember that, because it's so easy to place an order on Chick-fil-A.
It's awesome.
I believe when software is developed properly, and again, apps are generally that way. You shouldn't need a training manual like this thick to figure out how to use it, and there's a lot of that out there, especially if the tool does a lot. So keeping it, the KISS principle, keeping it simple, stupid, is really a big deal when we develop. It's like, I don't really want to have to think that I have to train someone to sort out how to use the software.
Keith, man, it's been an awesome conversation, and you have hit us with so many soup to nuts answers for the last 32 years of your life in technology. Where can our listeners follow up and connect with you?
Sure. You're going to go to comtekh.com, comtekh.com. Look us there, or support at comtekh.com. You can reach us there. My cell, if anybody's intimate with the group and wants to reach out to me personally, is 856-264-7430. You can text or call anytime. Happy to talk to you about what I do, or my how things are with my relationship with you guys. I'm happy to tell what a great experience I've had working with you guys. So I appreciate the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we didn't get into that much, but one of the ways we learned is you kind of came alongside and got to know us in our business. Thank you very much. And boy, I can't wait to follow up. So folks, I'm going to be dialing that phone number before you guys. We have a lot of cool tech ideas we want to talk to Keith about, but it's a pleasure to have you here, brother, and God bless you. And hopefully another 32 years if you choose. We appreciate all the work you're doing.
Thanks, Keith.
Damn straight. We just got buddy. We got to the end of another great show, and everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love it. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.